Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Extratyne on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. It's Friday night. There's internationals going on. England are playing this. They're whopping Albania by about 3 goals, I think, but I'm sure they'd rather be sat here with us. So tonight, as always, I'm your host, I'm Roger, and we are joined tonight by Laura. Good evening, Laura. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Fantastic. Have you had a good week this week?
Very good, actually, yeah. Very nice.
Stop looking off at the England game. I know what you do.
I'm going to turn it off because I'll get wrong, of course.
And obviously, the returning legendary Raza. Welcome back, Raza. Great to see you again. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you very much for having us back. I'm tip-top. Looking forward to it.
How's the little one?
Little warrior. He's battling on, you know. He's not too bad. Apologies if you hear him shouting and bowling later on. He's had his injection. But no, he's good, man. Thank you.
Champion. Right. So before we get into it, because it has been an absolutely crazy busy week, just like to say thank you to all those people who've joined us this evening, those people who've joined us live, and obviously those people hopefully who join us later on and watch us sitting on the toilet or while you're waiting for your lass to do something else and you're sitting there on your phone in the car. But thank you for joining us. So yeah, before we get started, you might have seen on Twitter, if you follow the Gallowgateshots Twitter page, and if you follow Decker in particular, he tweeted earlier on about an amazing place called Motion Rehab, and sadly his uncle Fraser suffered recently with multiple strokes, which has left him in a really bad place. He's lost his speech and his movement, and this Motion Rehab place is vital for his recovery and improving his quality of life and the quality of life of his family as well. So all I'm going to ask is, he hasn't got a GoFundMe page or anything set up just yet, but he's going to be kind of updating us on the progress and some charity events that might be going on that you might be interested in contributing towards. So please just keep your eyes peeled on the Gallowgateshots Facebook and the Gallowgateshots Twitter, and obviously all the people who contribute to the Gallowgateshots, because they'll be retweeting stuff from Decker to help support that amazing place, to help out his uncle. And obviously, you know, any help is massively appreciated. You know, retweets, shares with friends, and any contributions when the time comes, that'll be much appreciated. But we'll come on to that in the coming weeks, and Decker, I think, is going to speak a little bit more about that on the Always Smiling Faces podcast on the beginning of next week, Monday, probably. So thank you very much, guys, for that. And if you can get involved with that, that'd be great. So let's get into this week. It's been an absolutely crazy week. I think, like, sometimes, Laura, we used to struggle for stuff to talk about.
I know.
It was just crap football.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bruce going to get sacked? But now, Raza, well, it's a world of plenty in so many different ways. So much to get into. So I will try, Laura, and keep with some kind of chronology, because I know you're a bit anal about chronology. So obviously, Laura, I'll start with you. There's been a massive improvement over the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks since the takeover's happened, of the engagement with fans and communication, obviously through YouTube and all the different social channels. So, you know, what have you made of kind of what the club are doing, and why do you think it's happening now? What do you think's going on with it?
I know, it's crazy. Like, we're so used to absolutely zero communication or anything from the, like, obviously I'm just talking about social media, really, because that's what we all use and look for our news, like, these days. But there was never anything on Twitter, and whenever there was, it was just boring, like standard shit. But now it's like fun videos, informative videos, training videos, interviews with Staveley, interviews with Howe, press conferences. It's just so refreshing to see. And I mean, in terms of your question about why, like, I've got no idea, like, why wasn't this? Why? I know Decker touched on this. I was just listening to their podcast earlier about why, what did Mike Ashley have that he wouldn't allow? I think it's Grant Pringle who does all the Twitter stuff. Why couldn't he tweet nice GIFs and funny videos and interact with the fans more? It was like, just like, if he's been freed like all of a sudden. It's crazy, and I have no answer. Or maybe obviously, well, we all know why there was no training videos, because it would have been absolutely pony.
Yeah,
but, like,
would have been tumbleweed coming across.
Completely pointless. That one with Bruce with his hands down his pants, that's about it. But yeah, it was just obviously I know we'll touch on them in more detail, but in general, it is just a breath of fresh air just to see all this communication and interaction, and like even like tweeting fans back. I've seen a lot of that, and it's as if like maybe like they were scared of like what to say in case there was repercussions, whereas now it's the owners and everything are dead chilled and down to earth and nice and laid back and like friendly, and so it doesn't matter what he tweets. He's quite free and open about what he says on Twitter. So it's great. I love it.
Raza, have you had any sort of particular favourites from the videos that have been uploaded, like some of the training stuff? Is anything you've kind of picked out and you've either liked for the technical level or for the level of what Richard Keys would call banter?
I think the one where I think it's Eddie Howe. He's on the training ground and he's taking part in the training, and he shouts for the ball and off he goes. He sprints and gets the ball, and it's refreshing because, like Laura touched on, normally we're stuck seeing pictures of Bruce looking like he's been through lost property and he's got his kit on, just standing there, waiting for the canteen to open, So it's it's refreshing, and it's mad to think this is how normal clubs probably like go about their general business and that, and we've been starved of it for 14 years, and it's it's nice, it's refreshing, and like obviously we've heard more from them in the last few days since the takeover and all that than we ever have in 14 years, and it just shows, people, the media department probably are thinking, well, what, I've got to do this, me, and actually do my job. It's unreal. So no, it's nice, it's refreshing, and it's long may it continue.
I think we're probably people that follow all of us from other clubs, when we're like quote tweeting like standard communication and like we're absolutely buzzing and so excited. They're probably thinking, why are you excited over that? But it's because we just haven't had it. So we're not used to it. So it's shocking.
It does pull into sharp focus like what has been lacking. Those simple things that have been lacking at the club for so long. And now, we're getting a taste of it and we like it. We like it a lot. It's really good. So obviously, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. The training video was uploaded, and that was like, Eddie Howe talking about you can't stand still and all this sort of stuff. Which, I mean, John Joe Shelby must be absolutely dying, But I think obviously the big thing we were kind of waiting for was obviously Eddie Howe's interview. He did obviously the one for the in-house NUFC TV, but then obviously he faced the press. So Raza, what did you make of the way Howe came across? What did you make of kind of what he said and how he said it, which I think is quite important as well?
Definitely. I mean, not wanting to hark back to the past, but when you think about different interviews that's been done by, Mr. Bruce when he was in charge, arguing with journalists, there was no sort of self-respect or anything like that. Breath of fresh air. Eddie Howe, he's come in, he's what I liked about it was when he said to the journalist, we all need to work together. And he's bringing everybody on board, and he kept on quoting like he was privileged, he was honoured, going to treat people like, they're his family and stuff like that. And it's it was nice, it was, refreshing, and obviously listening to him and seeing what he'd done back at Bournemouth. I mean, I didn't realise like the state of like Bournemouth were in when he first took over, being their manager, and obviously things he had to do, build them up, they had a points deduction, he got them promoted. A lot of the stuff he done up his own back, he learned on the job. And looking at him, I mean, I'll be honest, he wasn't my first candidate to be appointed. But looking at him, it's something that we need, and he's come in, and every time he speaks, I just think, good on you, you're a nice bloke, and you mean well. He's obviously done his homework, he's straight into training. I mean, you seen him going to the training ground the other day, with the rest of the coaches. It was like still pitch black, he's straight in, straight there. And it was refreshing. Obviously, international break, he could have maybe, just hit away, maybe he's done a few things behind the scenes, but everybody was there. I mean, the players were probably in shock, thinking, "Oh, can I get me private jet and going here, there, and everywhere?" You know,
Yeah.
we've got a gaffer who's here and actually coach him with, you know. But in terms of how he come across, absolutely great. You know, he's a breath of fresh air. I think the questions he was in the press conference where they were asking about the Saudi involvement, this, that, and the other. I thought he handled that really well. You know, he said, "Look, it's a football decision why I'm here." You know, and he was great, honest, open, and again, it's something that we haven't had with the last one. You know, so no, I'm pleased with him, and I'm looking forward to him getting involved, getting stuck in. Obviously, you're only as good as you saw your last game. You know, so we'll see what happens when we play. But I'm confident now. I honestly thought we're going to get relegated, but I think with him in charge, we've got a chance. We've got a good chance, you know. So, aye, fingers crossed.
Laura, what did you think of the sort of, you know, he didn't seem to be afraid of mentioning the word relegation and
and I think
what did you make of that?
Yeah, I think Staveley touched on that in hers, and she said that they're not afraid of relegation, and Eddie Howe's not afraid of relegation. I mean, you can't hide away from it. We're bloody right down there in it, so it's pointless like overlooking it. But I just loved the way he talked with a clear vision and expectations. The training session was brilliant. Like, he had a plan. He knew what he was doing. It's like when you ask me questions deliberately when I haven't got a clue, so I spit me dummy out and I like shout at you. That's what Bruce used to do. He didn't know what he was talking about. He didn't have a plan. So he would roll his eyes and get defensive like I do when I don't know what I'm talking about. But he just seemed to totally know what he was talking about without any cliches. He seemed genuine, professional. He isn't scared of relegation. He's been there with Bournemouth. Bournemouth were in a worse state than what we are, and he got them out the shit with lesser players, if you like. And for me, it's just great to have someone young as well with ambition. And he's got a point to prove. Like, obviously, he's not daft. He talked about a lot of it being like short term. He knows that football is a business, and he is probably not going to be the long term manager to see us to the next step, but he's this step. And he was great. And he, obviously, the England job, he's been very much linked with that. So it's not just a fat Sam or a fat Bruce who's just there for their retirement and a paycheck. He's got ambition and a point to prove. So, like Raza, I'm really optimistic. And he wasn't my first choice when we were linked with all the other bigger names. However, he's the right man for this job at this present moment. So I am really...
Coming back to just picking up on your point there, Laura, about obviously the size, the length of the contract and different phases. Like, I'm of an opinion that I think he can grow with us, you know. Like, I think we are at a state where, very similar to Bournemouth, where we are a shell of a club. And Staveley's talked about, you know, they've already put £38 million into the club, and we haven't seen any of that, but it's obviously behind the scenes. There's so many gaps that they have to fill. So I've got, you know, I think if we can get out of relegation, which I believe we can now, I don't see why there's any reason why he can't stay with us for 5-6 years, you know, beyond 2024, which I believe is his contract running out. I'd be interested to see what people, you know, what the comments think, people watching, what they think about. Do we think that he could be the man that grows with us? Because we are a project. You know, I don't really like that word, but we are a project.
Touching on that, Rog, just what you're saying, the Staveley interview kind of said, she said it sort of along the same lines, you know, like obviously when they were looking for the managerial candidates and that, obviously they looked at what Eddie Howe had done at Bournemouth, a lot of it up his own back, having to put his own money in. Yes, what the club, not the size of Newcastle, but he had to build that infrastructure behind the scenes, and it was him, you know, leading it. It was a project, and I think Staveley's obviously looked at that. She's aware, obviously, it's on a grander scheme because of the sort of size of Newcastle. Everybody wants where to feel. Everybody wants where to get relegated because we've got tons of money. But when she said, obviously, Eddie Howe, he's not fighting the relegation, that's something that's in the back of their mind because you can't get away from it. We are where we are, and we need to improve very quickly. But I think Staveley, she'll bounce off Eddie Howe as well, knowing what's needed. You know, I mean, like you say, they've already put plans in for the foundation, the academy, the training ground. This will be stuff like he'll be saying to her as well. This is where you need to improve. So I think it'll be a great partnership. And like you said, look, if he keeps it up, and then we want to sort of kick on, push on next season. Who's to say they're not to, right? You know what? He deserves another year or two here. You know what I mean? Just see how far he can get. And Eddie Howe will be aware of that. He'll not want to tarnish his own reputation.
Yeah.
And that's something different. Like Laura said, we haven't got one of them managers who always just fall into a job because they'll save somebody from relegation and then they'll get millions for a payoff. We've got a young, ambitious, enthusiastic fella who basically, he's going to try his best, and he knows that if he does, where will it lead him? He could be England manager, could stay with us. So
and he wants to learn as well. Like we heard him say that he took a year out. He said he wasn't going to take a job. He took a year out, and he knew that the game progresses. So he went and he did his homework. He isn't like it's just my way, and I'm sticking with that, and that's how I play, and that's the way it goes. He is willing to change with the game as well. So who's to, like you were saying, like who's to say he can't improve and keep getting better? He's still young at the end of the day. He could, don't misquote us because this isn't what I mean, but who's not to say that he could get at the very top Pep level? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying he's going to, but do you know what I mean? He could, like, why not?
Yeah,
if he continues to grow and does his homework and is willing to learn and willing to change, and
Yeah, well, he's shown that. He's shown that from the get-go, hasn't he? So, and I think, obviously, just coming back to something you said before there, I think, Laura, about, or might be new, Raz, about, obviously, turning up at the training ground. I feel like it wasn't really, it's not like a publicity thing. I've got a feeling that is, that he'd be there from dusk till dawn, whatever you would say, from sun up to sundown. That's better.
Yeah, because did you see that interview with Gary Lineker when he was at Bournemouth? He said that. He said he works long hours and he doesn't get to see. So I don't think that was just like for the camera's first day. I think he genuinely works like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that sense of opportunity and improvement, I think, are two key things in his DNA. So I think that's a great. I think that's a great thing to have in the head coach. And I think actually it's important that he said head coach. So he's obviously knows that it's going to be an infrastructure above him. Looks like we'll have a director of football possibly incoming who's from Chelsea. His name escapes me now, but so there's obviously, he can see the way it's going. You can see the structure, and he wants to get started. So very briefly, obviously the lads talked about Amanda Staveley's interview with the official Newcastle United channel. And it was a really interesting, lots of, obviously she was getting more into the nitty gritty of behind the scenes. And Laura, what did you kind of make of, I suppose, from your perspective as a female who follows football, watches football, it's a very much male dominated area. Newcastle have never had, to my knowledge anyway, a female as high up as a position as executive director or whatever it is that she is, chairperson, or I don't know actually what her job title is. She's the gaffer, basically. So Laura, what do you how do you feel as a female Newcastle supporter with having somebody who you can identify with at the top of the club?
Yeah, I think I don't want to just dismiss your question, because to me it doesn't matter if they're male or female. It was who was best for the job. And it's great that she is a female and she comes across really well. And she does, like you say, she comes across as the gaffer. Even with her husband, I feel like she's the very dominating one. Like, she is in charge. And it is great to see. She's done very well for herself. I know we were talking about this before we came on air. It's very interesting that PIF and all of the Saudi Arabian things that obviously nobody agrees with are working so closely with a lady. And so that's also a slight improvement, a bit positivity, maybe, hopefully, right direction. She seems really down to earth, really genuine. She knows what we want. I just think it is really good. And like I said, it didn't matter if she was male or female. It was if she was right for the job, and for me, she is. And she's coming across like brilliant. Like in an interview when, like, she didn't have to come and do that YouTube video. There was no reason to. Eddie Howe had been announced. There was no reason to come and speak, but she did that purely for the fans. And I don't think it was like a PR stunt. I think she genuinely wants to communicate with us in, like, I'm going off on a tangent because I know that wasn't the question,
You
but
go on a tangent.
I'm assuming we're going to follow on with the interview and get your opinions on it. So I'll just give mine before
Go
you.
for it.
I just think it was just very positive, and the extensive manager search that she was talking about, like they didn't just pick someone out of thin air. And they were talking about all this like data analysis and point system, which I've got no clue what it meant or how they did it, but it just seemed like, oh wow, they've actually put thought into this. And it seems like they've really went into it, like delved in deep with who they wanted and who was the best fit, and rather than just pick a yes man. So yeah, I really am enjoying her. And I know Daryl met her the other day and said exactly the same, that she comes across on screen as that's exactly what she was like in person, very open, very honest, and very willing to chat to fans. And it's just, again, like we were saying earlier, just a complete change, complete 360 U-turn. It is just, I hope it doesn't turn into a Mike Ashley thing, because at the end of the day, he was brilliant and bought us all drinks and bamboo, and that went tits up. So.
Aye. Raza, can you see that and Amanda in the away in Arsenal down in Pines? I think that's on the cards.
I didn't think that's quite there what they do, but just touching on what Laura said, she's come in, she's very honest, she's very driven, and there was something she said in an interview when she was on about Eddie Howe, and she said, this was somebody we looked at when Mike was still in charge, so it's evident, like, they never give up, I was one of those who said, nah, takeover's definitely not happening, never happening. But obviously behind the scenes, that they're still going, they're persistent, they're already working on candidates, so for me, that was reassuring as well, it's like, I mean, obviously the old regime, he bought the club on a whim or for a bet, whatever you want to believe, and he didn't do any due diligence, hence the reason he come in, he had to pay the banks and that off, but with Staveley, it's different, they do get us. I think they do see what the bigger picture is, like they invest in us if the team's doing well, what it does for the region, and let's face it, they're here to make money so for us to be successful, and if we are successful, well, we're going to plough loads of money in. People are going to buy strips, the club shop's going to be chocker, the ground's going to be chocker block, so they're not daft, but I think they've got a personal touch as well, and they see what we wanted, how we never, like how some fans, never give up, always said, it's still happening, this, that, and the other. But I think they buy into the whole picture. It's a little bit reminiscent of like when Keegan come in, like when John Hall brought him back, and sort of speculate to accumulate type of thing. But no, I think she's great, and the way she's honest in her interviews and stuff like that. And I think Laura touched on it where she said, we've got Eddie Howe and we're not frightened of relegation, because she knows if it was to go wrong and we were to get relegated, then we've got the man who's going to be able to bring us back up. You know what I mean? So, no, good on her, and long may it continue.
Yeah. Just touching on when you brought up Keegan and back to those days. Oh, what I would love if they did the open training sessions where you got to go and meet them.
Oh yes,
I would love that.
Yeah, great them.
And I think that's something that they would actually be interested in doing. Maybe not like as often as Keegan did it, but definitely I think they'll do one-off things like that to get the community back together.
Yeah. Just picking up on a couple of things from the comments. Thanks to all those people who are joining in. Tom's just mentioned about, a couple of people mentioned about, some of the stuff that's been in the press, particularly Daily Mail. I think there's an article by Martin Samuel. Obviously, Steven Gerrard's been appointed as the Aston Villa manager. And then he's saying that Newcastle have missed a trick, and then obviously there was a very small article about Amanda Staveley and comparing her to the line from the Wizard of Oz. And do you think this type of journalism is we have got a target on our backs now? Do you think this is going to be the way it's going to go this season, Raz? Do you think like we're just going to be, until somebody else is the new kid on the block, or until somebody else is ruffling feathers, do you think this is just par for the course, do you think?
I think so. I mean, until until the top 6 clubs try to do a breakaway again, in a couple of months' time. But probably, they probably will do because I never got wrong. But we're going to get journalists sticking the knife in, because it's clickbait. They want comments on their articles, on the Mail and stuff like that, and it's almost every day. It's quite funny, like, when it doesn't matter sort of what publication you pick up or whether it be Twitter or out like that, there's always a journo who will have a story and then it's got to include Newcastle. And it's almost like, their remit is we've got to try and get, because as Geordies, we're a defensive bunch, you look after your own and you're going to stick up for people. So they're obviously going to get retweets, they're going to get comments and stuff like that. But like you say, until something else happens and it's big news, till Ollie gets a sack or something like that, then we are probably going to be the ones that they're right about the most. Because, as I said earlier, they want what they feel. They would love nothing better than Newcastle to be relegated. But let them crack on. Like you say, it'll be out chip paper in a few months' time. So I think it's hilarious.
Do you think, Laura, that this could be something that could be harnessed by Eddie Howe and used to our advantage? Maybe.
I don't understand the question.
So obviously everybody wants us to fail, and it's a bit like when
I was going to wing it, and then I thought, I'll sound like a divvy.
No, but like say when Mourinho first came in, and there was all the Chelsea money, and Mourinho would make arguments so that he could create this like a siege mentality around the club. And do you think Eddie Howe might go down a similar route to like? No,
I don't think he's like that. I don't think he's
circle the wagons and like internally say to the lads, look, everybody wants us to fail. Let's go and show them.
I think he'll do that. I think he'll do that internally and go. Everybody wants to fail. Go. I don't think he'll wind the press up like in a Mourinho style. I don't think he'll cause arguments or be petty or do a Steve Bruce or anything like that and wind them up. I think he'll be very much like, I need them on my side type of thing and work it like that and just be pleasant and just the way he is and professional and let them crack on and write all that shit. And I think he's the type of like, I'll prove it on the pitch type of guy rather than wind the press up. And I think he'll just put all that at the back of his head. He seems very driven and focused and not about the media.
Yeah. And I think Darren, kind of probably encapsulates a lot of the comments that we've had about he's going to succeed because of his work ethic, and it's important that we identify and call out, this, when we see the bullshit, we call it out.
Yeah.
And we know what the project is. We know who Eddie Howe is, and we know that despite the shortcomings, I think of a lot of the players, they are dedicated, and I think this will only galvanise them even more. That's what I hope, anyway. So I think it's all sort of working in our favour, and kind of coming on to something slightly different. Another content that we've all probably poured over. I'm sure everybody in the comments has watched. Gary Neville did a really great interview with Alan Shearer down on Shepherd Offshore on the Overlap. Really great. If you haven't watched it already, which I'm sure everybody has, because like we're just devouring any Newcastle United content at the moment because it's all so juicy and good. Raza, did it bring a tear to your eye to see old Alan on the docks there, walking along with Gary Neville, reminiscing and talking about life and being a Geordie and everything? Beautiful, wasn't it?
He's just a beautiful human being. You know what I mean? He's just amazing. But no, listening to him, and when you hear somebody who's got a connection to the club, like he's a Geordie, it's like listening to us talking. Neville was asking questions about, where's it went wrong, this, that, and the other, and we see it. His answers were no different to say answers we'll have in conversations in a boozer, you know what I mean, or at work. But to hear it, I mean, I was shocked to hear the way obviously being treated. So those 8 games he had when we got relegated, and he honestly thought he was going to be, the gaffer for the next season. And in fact, I think he said to Neville, I got a phone call off Mike Ashley and they said, there's a problem with the bank. We'll be back in touch. 15 years later, he's still waiting to hear, And it's, I mean, I must admit, I hate Gary Neville as a player. I love him as a pundit. I think he's good. And his overlap interviews are great as well. And I think it'll be reassuring for other people to hear. Obviously, Shearer speaking out the questions Neville asked them, because again, you've got a lot of the press who they've got an agenda against we. They think, we're just poor Geordie's up here. We've got our expectations are too high, etc. But when you actually see the club has been neglected for 14 years from top to bottom, we're on about youth system's terrible. The foundation, even people in offices, they're happy now to be able to do their job and have a bit of direction as to how to do their job. It's like the whole place was just, it was crumbling. It was a mess. But it was nice to hear Alan Shearer talking, and obviously, mentioned when he was 15, he had to make that decision to leave home and go down to Southampton. And I remember when he signed, I was over the moon. It was the first name I was allowed on the back of my tune top of my father, because even my father was over the moon. I remember going to St. James's and that when he was unveiled, and he's a legend. Get that statue into St. James's Park. That's another thing, that I Neville picked up on. Why is it outside near the toilets? And he was like, well, ask Mike. You know what I mean? That was just another dig at Shearer. So get the statue in and get a one of Keegan and all.
It looks like they've already sort of made moves to get that statue being moved. And Raza, I probably you're the same as me. Well, maybe it's probably Laura, you are as well. But the day that I see Kevin Keegan back on that pitch is going to be, I'll be an absolute mess. I'll be an absolute mess. I think just going to some of the comments just before I come back to you, Laura. Sorry, Raza, to block your face there. Maybe just lift your heat up a bit. Obviously about, going down to Southampton, and I think they picked up on that. I think it was Amanda Staveley, or maybe it was Gary Neville, about saying, those players hopefully aren't going to disappear now. They're not going to leave the region because they know that they've got a chance. They've got facilities. Obviously, we lost Lee Clark's son very recently, and I think that was indicative of the position that we've been in. But I believe there's another player who's maybe on the verge of that, who's one of our youth players who's actually, it looks like they'll put a push in to keep him, and we need to keep these local lads. And maybe I'm misty-eyed and dreamy, but it'd be great to have just a thread of Newcastle or Northeast born bred players at some level, playing regularly in the reserves, getting the 23s, and then breaking into that first team squad, because we've been starved of those types of players and those types of opportunities for those kids, So really great. I think Joel, he got number 9 on the back of his shirt before he signed, and luckily he signed the day after that. So the club shot was shocker. And I'm sure DH Gate are going to lose a lot of business from Newcastle fans, because we'll be happy to put more money back in the club now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. Unless you want one of the vintage shirts, then you have to go over there, don't you? Tom, I agree. About the Shearer statue.
Where is it? I know this is a really stupid question, and I should know, but where exactly is it?
It's on Barrett Road, next to the toilet.
Right, so I never go that way. So
you know Shark Bar, come past Shark Bar.
On that side, right?
Yeah. But and again, Shearer had said in his interview about the academy and the training ground, all it's had is a lick of pain since he left. So, and I think picking up on something Eddie Howe said actually was like, every year he'll do something different to the training ground to up level. Every year we need to be obviously football-wise at another level, but ambition-wise, yes, right, we got to the quarterfinal of the cup last season. Let's go to this, and I think we'll see that type of progression, and the span in the works could be relegation, but like we said, hopefully that doesn't come to pass and we can push on this season and, have a respectable finish, because we still can. We could still finish mid-table, 10th, 12th, because I don't think it's a particularly great league. A lot of teams will struggle. A lot of teams will go through runs like we've been through. And
I think most teams are beatable.
Yeah.
I really do. You've got your odd couple, but I think most teams are definitely beatable teams. My only concern is the December fixture list. I think it's too quick. It's come too quick under Eddie Howe's management to have made a massive difference. And my other worry, which I've wrote down, which I really I do want to put out, is that I think we've got to be quite patient. I can just see Twitter next week when the team is the same, because those are the players he's worked with because of international duty, and I don't think he can change it too much so sudden, because of who he's been training with. So I think we need to just hold off from kicking off when we see the team and just be slightly patient. I know patient, I'm going to contradict myself because I can't be too patient because obviously we need to pick up points pretty quickly. But there are a couple of winnable games before that awful December.
Sticky run. Just coming back to a really, really good question, actually, a really good point from Stu here. What image of Keegan would you want as a statue? What an absolute zinger of a question, Stu. Well played, young man. Raza, what do you reckon? Would it be remember used to do that? Him and Terry Mack used to do that. Remember? They used to do that when they scored a good goal.
Kind of
Do you think arms folded? Or do you think it would be, the goal from his debut? He's at
Gallowgate. You could do it. You could have one where he's wearing a bench coat. Remember when he used to wear the A6 bench coat, but he used to leave it zip that much. It was unzipped. Like that, you carry a little dimple in his chin. Could do that. Any statue, just get anyone done of him because he deserves it. And any really. I mean,
I think personally more manager Keegan than player. Not that I'm saying that he wasn't a great player for because.
There you go. That's a nice one.
Yep.
Yes.
There's a one I will share on Facebook where he's got a bag of balls. He's at the training ground at Maiden Castle.
He's got what?
He's got a bag of balls. It's always nice to see Keegan and his balls. Get that statue made.
There you go, and look. There you go, Raza. Couple of balls.
I'll not sleep beneath the chairs, man.
Maybe he could be like with a honey monster.
Yes.
Giving it he could be with a honey monster. For those of you, check it out on YouTube if you've not seen that one.
I've got a brilliant photo of sat in his car, sat in his Jaguar with me at the door.
Wasn't an lay-by or anything, was it?
No, it was at Maiden Castle. My dad took the photo. No, he was knackered off head tennis and he was like, I'll sign all the autographs, but will you please come and sit in my car?
Laura, you've just hit the nail on the head. Head tennis?
Head tennis champions, him and Terry Mack.
One of him and one of Terry Mack.
Opposite,
It's like a ball somehow suspended between the two of them.
Yes.
I'm sure there's an architect out there who can create something like that. Yeah, definitely. And maybe it's like even the training ground could be like the Kevin Keegan Centre, just God, it's happening. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Right. Anyway, so I think thanks, Stu, for that one. You've really engaged us there with some good conversation. Thanks, Stu.
Really excited.
So kind of gone off kilter there, Laura. I do apologise. Not sticking to the.
I don't mind when I know what you're talking about, and I can join in.
Keegan. Right. So kind of covered sort of Newcastle stuff, and just a little bit about the internationals. Obviously, England are playing. I'm sure there's an update. Last I looked, it was 5-0.
Oh wow!
And Kane had scored a perfect hat trick, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, with the internationals being this week, a lot of players are away, and kind of alluded to the fact that Eddie Howe is going to be training with the bulk of the squad who are just there. And then I think most of the players will probably be back a couple of days before the Brentford game, which doesn't really give us time to kind of, get those players up to speed with what's been going on. So perhaps we will see a similar team to what we've seen previous. But it does mean Jeff Hendrick's probably not in the squad. So, yay! But obviously, while the internationals are going on, it's an opportunity for those local teams, non-league, and a bit lower down the league. I don't think Sunderland are playing this weekend because they might have a couple of Northern Irish internationals, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know. Sunderland. So, Laura, I believe you've been looking at games close to you, obviously, that you could go and see. Because I know, you're very, you don't really want to talk about, it was a game at Ashton. Oh, I'm not going to go all the way to Ashton. But Laura's done a little she's going to give us a flavour now of kind of what's available. If you're out of loose end on a Saturday, you're not going to watch the town. They're not playing. So maybe it's in your local area. There's a team that you can go and support and follow, and maybe put some money in their coffers. So Laura, what are your recommendations? Your personal recommendations, and then what else is out there for people to go and see in the wider region?
I feel like I need to defend myself from that introduction, because before the podcast, Roger said, Laura, will you look at Northern League? And I said, yes, of course, I follow Northern League. So I just picked games that I like, because in the games that I've been to this season, because why wouldn't I? Like, why would I talk about teams that I haven't seen or that I haven't been to? So
But no, I'm not asking. No, you're missing the point. I'm not asking you to talk about teams you haven't seen. I'm saying, hopefully, we've got
so
people who...
do like one of them, you know, like the boring bit at the end of Skies, and we have Wickham versus Newton Aycliffe, and then we have... Is that what you went?
No, all I'm saying is, just tell us what the fixtures are, who's playing, where they're playing, what time they kick off, you know, so people know they're in the know.
Saturday, 3 o'clock.
There we go. Right, Laura, go on and take us through your top games.
Yeah, so I love Northern and non-league. I do. Like, whenever Newcastle are playing, I try my best to go to some. So I used to go to Blythe all the time, because they had a mint team. Like, it was when they used to play Salford and that. And like just before the season that they did the documentary for Class of '92. And I loved going. It was such a good atmosphere, and it was really good. They had a mint team when Tom Wade was the manager, and then he left, and then they're all dispersed to like Darlow and stuff, and then they're all back together. So Blythe would be a good game. I've messed up already, because I was going to say Blythe would be good to go, but they're playing away. So don't go Blythe, because
don't go Blythe. Although Blythe Town are playing at home, I believe, Laura.
They are, yes, and I wrote that down also, because I did
Laura,
go.
Did your father play Northern League? Is that why you?
Yes, for Washington.
For Washy.
Yeah.
Why did you roll your eyes there? You're not Lee Ryder.
Sorry. It's because he drums it into us, which is why we'll go and watch it. Right. So Blythe Town, I did go and watch them against Heaton not long ago. So Heaton are playing at home against Washington. So I have wrote those down to go and see. And Heaton are doing really well there first, so that would be a good game to go to. And I love how you can like have a pint and just it's good atmosphere when you go.
Yeah.
Gateshead are playing at home as well, and they're doing all right. They're 11th mid-table.
Yeah.
Blythe aren't doing too well this season, actually. But Wickham are playing tonight, actually, Newton Aycliffe, but I don't know the score. And then you've got Benfield, you can go and see, against Seaham. They're 9th, they're doing okay. And you've got North Shields, who are doing probably the best in the region at the minute, because they're 4th in Division 1 of Northern League. I think I do. Right. Yeah. And that's all I've wrote down, but I have got more.
Good effort. No, go on then. Who else? You know, because we've got obviously. You know, I think.
Well, you were adamant that I had to mention Whitley Bay, but that was too far away, because they're playing Redcar.
From you,
too far away from you. Me. Yeah.
There might be some people who are watching who are living here who may.
Right. Well, if you live near Whitley Bay, do you think Whitley Bay is further away than Blythe to me?
Yes.
Yeah. See, too far away. But if you want to go and see Whitley Bay, they're playing Redcar and they're 15th.
What about Dunstan? Dunstan
UTS playing.
I didn't go that far down.
Oh, Howe. I'm sure somebody's just said down the bottom there. I think Paul said that Dunstan UTS they might be playing at home.
Is Matty Patterson there? Is that where he is now?
Good question. I think he was at. I think he was a coach at Gateshead for a little bit.
Yeah, he was, and then he left. Yeah, he did. He was at Gateshead, then he left. But Gateshead have got a few ex Newcastle players.
Well, obviously
Big Mike. And then they've got Adam Campbell. He was at Newcastle. Up front, Yeah, and that Langstaff, I went to watch them against Guiseley on Bank Holiday Monday, and honestly, it was before takeover. It was when Newcastle were like dire, and there was no hope. And honestly, I fully enjoyed it more than a Newcastle game. It was really good. So yeah, go watch some Northern League tomorrow.
Yeah, go and get your winter warmers on.
I'm going to. On. Yeah, especially if you're going to Gateshead, because as Malcolm would say and repeats every time you say it, it's the coldest place in the northeast is Gateshead International Stadium.
Yeah,
even in summer.
Definitely. So definitely worth some things to check out. As we like to on Extratyne, we always like to do something a little bit different, because we are a little bit extra as a group of people. I'm a bit extra, definitely. So this week, people might have seen in the press, unfortunately, in the Paris Saint-Germain women's team. Oh, thanks for that, Laura.
Sorry, I did it again.
In the PSG women's team, there was an incident where, now I'll try and get these names right. I'm trying my best. Amrita Diallo, who's one of the midfielders, allegedly involved in an assault or planned assault on one of our teammates who plays in the same position. And that sort of got us thinking about, things that you've ever done to somebody in a work colleague or somebody who you work with that was a little bit naughty. Straight away, if anybody's got anything in comments that they've done that they're willing to admit to, this is your chance to confess and repent and maybe have a little bit of closure on that incident that made you feel a little bit bad.
Roger won't share it and he'll just tell us anonymously.
Yeah, I won't. Yeah, I won't put you on the screen, but I'll share what you've said. Although the comments are on the YouTube video anyway, so people will see it underneath. But
I can't see them.
Yeah, I've got one. I mean, see, we're quite tame, but when I was teaching down in London, I was in a staff meeting and they were sort of eyeing me to be on the teacher governor, which is a thankless task that takes up too much time. It's an awful, Laura, you'll know, and
horrific.
It was looking like they were like angling it towards me, and there was a young man called Steve Crook, so I'm luckily still friends with now. He's just fresh over from New Zealand, and he was sat there, and he was a very personable fellow, and I absolutely dropped him in it, and I was like, well, Steve, I think you'd be great at this job. Like, you're really good with the parents, and you've got a really good idea, and it'd be a good way of like getting sort of ingratiated into the school life and stuff. And I could see him looking at us like, you absolute dick. And Steve was, he did take on the role, and he took it for about 3 years, and he was absolutely sick of his life. So that's my confession. I repent.
You feel better now?
I do actually. I feel like a weight's been lifted. It's been 13 years since that, and nobody's ever heard that I did that to him. So that's I didn't quite break his legs, which is, I believe, what happened to this poor PSG player. But, I metaphorically broke his legs and hindered him for the rest of it, his time at the school. Laura, have you got anything that you've ever done to anybody that you've maybe regret you'd like to repent?
I was racking my brain. I haven't got anything really school related, but when I used to work in Republic in the clothes shop, it was like best days of my life. It was so laid back. We just used to go to work, stand around and chat. In the Metro Centre, they used to have them undercover, I don't think they were police, but they were like undercover like shoplifter people that would like look out for shoplifters. And we were all talking at the front, and I was talking to my co-worker who was meant to be on the G-Star gondola, and he was manning that. And I'd shouted him over to come and talk to me on the women's section. So we were chatting, and somebody came in from the undercover people, so not we installed the full gondola, like wheeled it out while I was talking to him, and he got absolutely bollocked because they come back and were like, do you notice anything missing? He was like, oh shit, that full G-Star, that was like £1,000 worth of clothes had just been wheeled out because I had shouted him over to talk to him. So yeah, that was.
You've well and truly done that.
Yeah.
Raza, I've got a comment from Tom there about Raza taking the last battered sausage while his kebab was getting made. He knew I wanted that up there with the PSG incident. Is this something real or is it fabricated, Raza?
It's real. It's real. You snooze, you lose. If you're behind us in the queue, like I can't help it. It was it looked golden. The batter was just tiny,
What a description.
I just thought, I'm going for it, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's meant to be. So, Tom, I apologise, mate. You've never let us forget it, but
yeah. But I think that'll provide Tom with a little bit of closure. It seems like he needed for that incident.
I do hope so. Like it was lovely as well. Very tasty.
Was it a good one? Where was it? Was it a Dylan's one? Or was it where was
it?
No,
it was actually Clayton Street Chippy, I think. So
Clayton Street Chippy.
And I didn't think they had any left either. Much to my amusement, not to his, but unlucky. But no, I will be back that sausage.
I'm sure. Well, Tom, next time you see Raza, make sure you hit him up for a battered sausage. I'm sure he'll be good for it. You know, Raza knows his takeaways. I suppose speaking of takeaways and food, and obviously the word was on the street that Eddie Howe had taken out the players for a team bonding. You know, forget paintballing and whitewater rafting and that. You know, they've been out for a meal. I don't know where they've been. Raza, do you know where they went? You know, any suggestions where they could have been, or
was it the was Gosforth Way, wasn't it?
Yeah, they went the 3 mile.
Aye, they went the 3 mile. Aye.
Oh, 3 mile.
Aye,
do you think is there any better venues, Raza? Maybe it's the Curryna and the Big Market.
Where?
Could have done Mr. Low's or Big Luke's or something like that, you know. But I think you've got to book into them establishments, haven't you? But no, I'm not too sure.
How many's in your party, Mr. Howe? You know, God, Jesus. But Big Luke's, it's shut now, isn't it? Is it a Greek place now?
Still one in the Metro Centre.
I've never ever been to a Big Luke's. Never.
Oh, it's changed, isn't it? It's down where the Namco is, isn't it?
Something like that, aye. But it's
right. Okay. Oh well, according to Paul, it wasn't the players.
Right, just the coaches.
That's right.
It
was just the coaches who went, like, you know. So,
right.
Aye.
But they definitely had a players' bonding session, though, didn't they?
I think that was just a training session, Laura. The players just didn't know what it was. They thought, "Oh, we've never done this for a couple of years. What's this?"
Yeah. Who's he in that? Is that John?
What's his cones for? What we've got to run around these for, aye?
I wonder if they went to that. What's it called where we're going, Roger? Red Diner or something for karaoke.
Don't give away the location, Laura.
I haven't given away the date.
Top secret.
All right. That's a good point. Yeah, for our Christmas little night out, Raza, I'll send you a text if you fancy it. We're having a little
ready.
We're having a little karaoke night after the Man City. Oh,
I tell you what, the less these two now, the less the Chronicle that. Yeah, mate.
Raza, Laura, I'm trying really hard to keep the big secret. That's what I'm really struggling with. But yes, we are having a Christmas night out, so. We're going to do some karaoke, Raz. So if you fancy it, I'll let you know. I'll tip you the wink, and you can get yourself in there.
No.
Yeah. Yes. So, I think like we've pretty much covered all the things that we were going to cover. I think now we've kind of come to a natural conclusion. I think like looking forwards, obviously the Brentford game. There's a lot of time to pass now between now and then. Raza, what you hoping for the Brentford game? Looking ahead at that one, what do you reckon in terms of what do you want to see? Obviously, we need a win. We're desperate for a win, but kind of what do you want to see from the players?
You just want to see the team set up with a bit of direction, so they know what they're doing. With a plan, you know, like quite simply, we're planning at the minute, kill the ball to Maxim, simple as that, you know, and hope you can get it to Wilson, but. I think we'll see. I do think we'll see an improvement because we will see, like I see, a plan. You know, with the players, they'll know what their role is. They'll know what they've got to do. Depending on how the game goes, you'll see how react. You know, too many times we've seen the other ones on the touchline sort of just stand there. You know, and we're thinking, well, how are teams cracking on? Are you going to make a change or what? You know, and it'll be good to see how does react if we were to go a goal behind. How does he react? How do the players react? You know?
I listened to something the other day where it said that was his weakness and that he's not very good at a plan B. And then whoever was having the conversation then made a very valid point and was like, but hopefully he won't need a plan B because his plan A will be so meticulous and so like improved from what we're used to that he won't need to go to plan B. So
I think probably, you know, from what we've, you know, the things we've heard from Howe and what we've heard about him, obviously, you know, I had an interview with Tiggs from the Bournemouth, one of the Bournemouth podcasts, that idea of self-improvement and probably that time that he's taken out of football. You know, I think he's been over to watch Diego Simeone. He's been over in Europe watching teams train outside of football as well. I think he's been involved in rugby, you know, in different, and looking at those marginal gains to improve himself. And hopefully, you know, he's got his plan A. That's the way he's going to play. But hopefully he's got that flexibility, which we've been lacking for a long time. And I think that's really, really important. And I think Dan makes a good point that we didn't actually have a plan A.
Mhm.
So plan B is great.
Very good
Plan A to start with is, pretty good.
To start,
pretty good.
yeah.
So just to finish, Laura. So what do you reckon for Brentford?
I think the team will be very similar, but I'd love a change, but I don't think it's gonna because of the international. So I'd be very interested to see the same team play under a different manager. So I'll be very interested to see I'd be quite happy with the same team if they're going to play a different way, which hopefully they're going to, because from what he says, it's very attacking minded. But just reminded us before when Raza said about give Maxi the ball, I liked when he was talking about Maxi and he said, yes, Maxi's great and I'm looking forward to working with him, but don't quote us because I can't remember. It was something like implying like he's got to work with the team as well, and I love that, because I was like, brilliant, we're not going to be a one-man team. It's not just going to be lump the ball to Maxi. Like, we're going to have like an actual plan of action and a style of play that hopefully will suit Maxi, but it won't be all revolving around Maxi. So I'm looking forward to the Brentford game, and I think the atmosphere will be amazing. And I am just like, can't wait to see, and I just hope it goes our way, because imagine how like devastating we'll be afterwards if it goes to it. So
one word answer: will Matt Ritchie be playing left back? Laura?
No.
Raza?
No.
Bloody hope not. Not that there's anything against Matt Ritchie, but everybody knows he's not a left back. Everybody knows that. So I think there's a place for his intensity in the team, particularly against somebody like Bournemouth. Against somebody like Brentford, I think that intensity is there, but in a different part of the pitch, please, if you don't mind. Right, so that brings us kind of to an end. I think that bookends that quite nicely. We've hopefully covered as much as we possibly could tonight. Thank you all those people who've joined us live, and obviously all those people who subsequently hopefully watch later on. We've got some really great things coming up this week. Chris and the lads will be on the Always Smiling Faces podcast at some point this week. Also, they had a new feature called, I'll try and get this right, Talk of the Tyne, which I believe was a bit of a phone-in, and apparently I might be hosting that at some point. That'll be an absolute car crash, by the way, but we'll see how that one goes. But the lads did a great job getting people involved, getting people logging in and giving their contribution to the conversation, which was great to see. Obviously, we've got the United States with Shearer. I'm trying to go through all the things now. And I think between the lines, hopefully he'll come back as well with Matty, because that was really good insight into the opposition, and he really breaks it down. He's really good at breaking those things down for it. So stay tuned for all that great content. Hopefully we'll be getting Raza on a bit more as well. I might even get him in the studio eventually when he's stopped isolating himself.
No, thanks for having us, guys. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Bring some shorts, Raza, because it gets kind of sweaty in there. Kind of sweaty. So thank you again for joining. Laura, thank you for joining us again tonight. And Raza, much appreciated you joining us again.
Cheers, guys. Have a good weekend.
Your fan club will be absolutely buzzing. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, tell your neighbour's dog, and join the conversation. And thanks to all those people who've joined us tonight. And we will see you hopefully next week, when we've got a really hopefully a massive presence for our show next week. Really looking forward to. We're trying to keep it close to our chest. We'll make an announcement nearer the time, but tell anyone now to boot nothing. All right, but it should be great for you all to see, and hopefully it'll give you some great content and something to talk about. So thank you, everybody. We'll all say bye-bye. Everybody wave. See you later, guys. Thanks for joining us. Take care. Have a great weekend. See you soon.